this whole idea of whether what's meant for us will come to us, whether or not we're quote unquote letting it in, happens to be my most confusing and challenging question. So thinking about here is that, she says, like, if I say to myself, nothing's ever too late, everything happens in divine timing, she goes, that all feels very fake to me right now. I feel like my ego is getting tough with me and I'm supposed to stop pretending. I'm not grasping for these certain things. I've learned how to feel patient after waiting for years for any aspect of these parts of me to come into form. And so I feel like I'm being called to, and this is in caps, let go of all of it. And that leaves an emptiness and a void that I know will be filled in some way. I just don't know what or how or when or if. And I feel like I need to be okay with that being enough. All right, so, and I'm just going to stop there before I do any more of this, because this is a really, really important question. And I have to say, I know I'm always going back to this particular video, but it's sort of the key to it. If you go to that video on YouTube, especially if you're new and you've never seen it, called Dying to Love, what you just wrote about is the key to this. This isn't about waiting and hoping and grasping and offering all at the same time. I think, to me, what you said is 100% true. When something is an incredibly ferocious desire, and if you're genuinely not faking it, genuinely wanting to let the divine take the lead, then the act of offering literally involves going to a place that says, and this is what's in the video, let me feel whole with or without this thing. That's the line that's the key to the kingdom. Let me feel whole with or without this thing. And it doesn't matter whether you're talking about a relationship, a home, money, a health issue, anything, resolution with your child, whatever it is. The core prayer to feel whole with or without the thing is what truly lets you cast the burden in a genuine way, and not just use the offering like, I'm offering this, but really I'm going to be bitter, angry, disappointed, or in a perpetual state of waiting until you bring me what I want. So, yeah, I'm really, really with you on this. And it involves having to be in the void. It's true, because if your whole sense of identity is like, whatever the topic is for somebody, if my life will really start when I get that relationship, or my life will really start when I'm finally making a living from my art, or my life will really start, whatever the thing is, once that's offered on the deepest level, it doesn't work to just offer it. Because, of course, the kid inside, everything inside is going to be like, oh, my God, what if I offer this to you and I don't get it? That's why the prayer really becomes, let me feel whole with or without this. And I know I've talked about it before, but it's the example that I know to the bottom of my heart. It's what I personally did with relationship. And it was over the course of a number of years. Like, if something is a ferocious attachment and you have Libra rising, it's not just like, oh, let me feel whole with or without this. Okay, God, all's good. It's like you go through the layers, just like this letter saying, of faking it. And then all of a sudden you've really let go to this place where you feel whole with or without it. And then it's kind of like that poem. You're no longer a slave to it. Like, that is the purpose of the releasing, is that line that says the desires often arrive once they're offered to love, but you're no longer a slave to them when they arrive. So it doesn't say for sure they arrive. If they're not meant to come in a given life, they don't come. But if they are, and they come through that deepest offering, you are no longer a slave to it. You can enjoy it, but you're no longer a slave to it. And it's so fundamentally different. You're no longer saying, I have to have this God or else, because that or else is what makes the life a living nightmare. So yeah, I am really with you, like, so much on this. And when you say, like, I'm needing to release all of it, you just need to be careful. This isn't about spanking the kid. This isn't about ripping a whole lot of toys out of her hands and giving her like a whole bunch of shoulds, like, well, you shouldn't want any of those things. You're bad if you were really involved. This has nothing to do with any of that. It's incredible gentleness on the inside. You could say it's the deepest love on the inside, where you're saying to that kid, you can desire all of this, it's fine. But now we're offering these desires to love for the sake of our own wholeness, our own freedom and our own wholeness. And then we'll feel whole with or without this. And then when it comes, you can genuinely enjoy this. All right. So, I think that this is all very related. And if you truly, and I get, like, this is sort of the spiritual, when they talk about the genuine opening to this force of love, it goes back to the same issue. When you start to trust that, it almost starts to fall away. Am I going to get this? Am I not going to get this? Because all of that is still focused on the me. And what starts to become central is that feeling of that love itself has a plan for you. Love itself has a plan for you. Maybe everything that you sensed in your 20s or in the last 20 years, maybe it all will still come, because, hey, like you say, you're not dead yet. The Prarabdha karma goes to the final breath. But that urgency about it and that waiting for it, it's a kind of very natural grasping that just starts to become exhausting. And I feel like reading this, you're actually in this very beautiful, maybe painful, but beautiful place where you're like, oh, let me just open. Let me even stop worrying, was this meant to happen? Is it mine? If it's mine, can I miss it? Am I taking the right actions? It's like when that all belongs to the ego, just going on that circle over and over and over, it is so exhausting. But when you finally say, you know what? I don't know. If this is meant to come, I've taken every conceivable action I was guided to take, and it'll come. And if it's not meant to come, because my central prayer is, let me be whole with or without this, that is the prayer that will lead you out of the wilderness. I tell you that from the bottom of my being. Let me feel whole with or without this. Something else happens. And then all that other gyration, you're like, it doesn't hold you captive in the same way. That's all I can say.